Hi, welcome to this webinar on the role of the goalkeeper out of possession. Warm welcome this morning to Sam Meek. Sam is a men's national goalkeeping coach and has recently come off quite a bit of work with the under-17 keepers and team. My name's Mick Matthews. I'm an FA youth coach developer for the Yorkshire and the North East region. So, morning, Sam. Welcome to the webinar, mate. I'm looking forward to this morning's presentation.
Brilliant, thanks Mick, and welcome everybody. So like Mick has introduced me there, we're going to do the role of the goalkeeper coach out of possession, and Mick's going to fire some questions across. Hopefully I'll be able to answer them and he won't grill me too much, but we'll see how it goes. So what would we expect from today's webinar? So done this in an emoji style to kind of get us flowing. So the emoji out there with the binoculars, we're going to have a little deep dive focus into a little bit of the England DNA from a goalkeeping perspective as how we play out of possession. There's going to be some to-do tasks. So there's going to be a couple of tasks in there. So make sure you're prepared to engage and get involved. Hopefully throughout this webinar, it's going to be very thought-provoking, and we'll have some questions from Mick, and hopefully you'll have questions that to pass on in the future. And again, I'm really hoping that we get a little bit of a light bulb moment. What that is for the learners, for what that is for you, and what that is for other people is completely individual. So hopefully we get some little light bulb moments throughout this. So what's the sort of tagline? So what do we want to get out of this? So we're going to provide an insight into the role of the goalkeeper out of possession and what this means to you at your club and how this can benefit your team. So that is kind of the outcomes of this webinar and where we want to get to. So first task, what does the role of the goalkeeper out of possession mean to you currently? So what I want you to think about is think of 3 or 4 key things that it means to you right now at your club with your teams, and when you're coaching as well, have a little think about that. If you're watching this on YouTube, you may want to pause this for 30 seconds to have a little think about it and have a go at it. For the rest of us, we're going to do this right now. So Mick, I'm going to pass this question over to you. So what does this mean to you right now, Mick?
I think one of the key things really is that to keep the ball out the net would be a good starting point, Sam. I think sometimes there's an oversight on that as a key part of it. But yeah, certainly to protect the goal. I think it's organisational skills really in relation to those distance relationships he wants with his defenders. And specifically, that is key. Clarity around the communication would certainly be up there.
Yeah.
And again, just recognising threats, really. If the ball's being played out and built up, what's his position in relation to, if this ball turns over, there's a bit of a transitional element, or certainly as the webinar's going after is, what specifically is he looking to do in that once you're out of possession.
Yeah, good. So I think there's some really good answers there, Mick, and some really insights into you as an outfield coach on what you expect of your goalkeeper, especially from an out of possession point of view. I think the purpose of this webinar is most of the time we speak in possession, but there's a massive role to play out of possession. So there's 3 or 4 key things you've mentioned there that hopefully we're going to have a little bit more of an insight and deep dive more into this as we go forward. So moving on, we're going to look at now how we play out a possession model from the England DNA. And we sort of break this down into 4 key areas: the support area, defend the space, defend the area, and defend the goal. So first of all, I'm going to talk to you about support. So you can see there and read there, connecting with the team through positioning, instruction, and action to best manage the goal area and space. So quite self-explanatory. That is, what support position is the goalkeeper going to be in through a phase of play? You spoke about transition there, Mick. He's probably one of the most key areas of the game, where as soon as that ball turns over, there's an opportunity where the opposition might try and exploit you. And is your goalkeeper in the optimum position ready to deal with the scenario that he may come up with? So then from that support position, we're looking at defending the space. So defend the space is effective actions to protect the space from balls played behind the defence. It's quite self-explanatory. Quite a lot of the times people will look at Manuel Neuer as a goalkeeper will be somebody who probably defends the space really, really well. And if you're a high press team and your back four is going to be really high at times, if your goalkeeper's deep, that space becomes big and you're almost telling the opposition to play it in there for quick forwards to get in behind. So make sure we're defending the space properly. But also, it's not just from a high press point of view. Defend the space can be when you're in a bit of a low block, Mick, and when that ball's just played short ball in behind the defence, might be sweeping it up there or coming to claim and smother the ball. That's also classed as defending the space. Moving on, we're looking at defending the area. So effective actions to do with a variety of balls played into the area. So you're looking at sort of different types of crosses. Nowadays, you know, you don't just get the old traditional looped ball in the box. There's loads of different types of balls in the box, and it's all talking about support positions to defend the area in relation to the back four, which you explained there, Mick, a little bit about the relationship between the goalkeeper and the back four. And we're going to go a little bit further into that and hopefully give you a bit more of an insight of what that looks like. And the first thing you said, Mick, was keep the ball out of the net. So defend the goal, you know, having the effective actions to prevent goals being scored. And there's a variety of different ways of doing that, but the optimum position to be in to do that in line with certain scenarios, certainly. So that is a little bit of an insight into the how we play out a possession model that we've got here with the England DNA. Then we've got the goalkeeping characteristics. You may have seen this before. If you haven't, you know, this is the characteristics that we look at, and we break it into 5 areas of technical, psychological, physical, social, and tactical. And you can see loads of different things that we look for within a goalkeeper. But for the purpose of today's webinar, we're going to be looking really extensively at a proactive manager out of possession. And the tagline for that is denies goal scoring opportunities through positioning, instruction, and effective actions. So that is what we're going to be looking more into. So the next thing we're going to be looking at is we're going to be looking at an under-21 session, England under-21 session. And the theme of the session, the focus of the session was defending as a low block, and it was a small-sided game. So just to give you a bit of a clearer picture before we watch the video, the game setup and rules, the 5v5, it was 2 18-yard box areas, so 36-yard area. Normal rules, so, you know, normal football rules, no sort of constraints on it. The only difference was whenever the ball went out of play, the restarts was played from the side straight into the goalkeeper, and it would start from there, but it's a 2-way flow practice. So the goalkeeper in possession actions is support and build effectively. But more importantly, what we're going to be looking at focusing on is the goalkeeper out of possession actions. Positioning to support the block, effective actions to defend the space, area, and goal, and the organisation and instruction to the unit of players that he's got in front of him. So we're going to show you now the video of the training session, and we're going to look at 1 or 2 little areas and just see them come out. So first thing, organisation and instruction to the unit. So in this scenario, the goalkeeper's focusing on these 2 players here. And what he wants is he wants the play to really be shown down the outside. Now, from this point of view, the organisation is very important in the instruction to those 2 players. The reason he wants them to go down the outside in this low block scenario is making sure that this player here cannot come in on his left foot and have a clear sight and opportunity at goal. So we're wanting all the play to go down the right-hand side. So as we play it on, we'll see the 2 players doubling up, doing a good job, sending it down the outside, this time to the other player. When it cuts back inside, there's the blocks. Good organisation from the goalkeeper to those 2 players. In this position here now, we're going to be looking at a few more things. So effective actions to defend the space. So it's clear to note this player here making a little run. And what I said to you before about defend the space isn't always in a high press where it's high up the pitch. The space now is that little ball that might be played in behind this back 3 here at this moment in time. So that little space there, that blue area, ball played in, goalkeeper's ready to sweep up and deal with them situations. Good. And in this point, in this opportunity here, effective actions to defend the goal. The reason I've paused it in this scenario here is the first action for the goalkeeper when that ball got played through was to defend the goal. But then as he starts to advance on an angle, quite often you see a lot of goalkeepers rush out on this angle towards this player, but the player is in full control of this ball and he's just about to wind up and shoot. So the goalkeeper makes a really good decision, an effective action to stand, hold his ground, and really protect the goal from the angle. you can see the distance between him and the goalkeeper. If he rushes out now, the reaction time's less, so he makes a good save and a good decision. You'll see the in-possession actions as well. But look at this now, a lack of instruction. So straight away, the first thing to bring to your attention is, as soon as the middle of that three there, the middle of the three yellows, as soon as he's gone towards the ball, the player I've highlighted here, he should be told by the goalkeeper to shift in and narrow up to try and limit the opportunities in the middle of the goal to force the ball wide. But he doesn't do this. So the lack of instruction, however, shows really good effective actions to defend the goal, which you can see here from a good position and a good strong save. And again, it's quite evident to notice there how quick he is off the floor to get into another position just in case there was a follow-up from his first initial save.
What's the relevance here of the two? You mentioned about 2 18-yard boxes, Sam. What's the relevance of it being set up like that, specifically for the keeper? You mentioned them points there.
Yeah. So the relevance of this session design here, Mick, would be looking at a low block scenario for both goalkeepers. They're forced into that picture. So as you can see the game flowing and there's a two-way practice. The goalkeeper is out of possession, dealing with a low block on both sides. So here in this scenario, when the Greens are attacking, it's a low block. They've entered the 18-yard box, which will happen.
Yeah.
If that ball is turned over right where it is now in this picture, Mick, he's still in a low block with the opposite 18-yard box facing the other way, if that makes sense. So there's, it's still in that sort of area that they're working on, but two goalkeepers can be working at low block in the same game, which I think is highly important to hammer home the messages.
Yeah, so in that picture there, Sam, like you said, the goalkeeper at the nearest to us now, he should still be offering that communication to that back line because he's effectively defending the edge of his 18-yard box. Yeah,
defending the edge of the 18-yard box, preparing for that transition, which we spoke about right at the start in the how we play. It's all about the instruction and managing transitions from that instruction on organisation, even preparing before you give the ball away. Making sure you're in the right position to defend a potential attacking threat.
Yeah, well, I like that because that's maybe increased repetition as well. If you've got certain individual learning things for keepers around specifically that moment, in and around the box to get more increased repetition out there and realism.
Yeah, 100%, absolutely.
Yeah.
So yeah, just on this point now, you can see now an effective action to defend the area. So the position the goalkeeper's taken up here, you can see if that ball is squared, which is going to happen, there's a green player there ready to tap that ball in the back of the net, into an empty net. But he positions himself in a really good cutback position, if you like, and then his action is to try and cut this ball out, which you can see now is effective and actually stops that more or less being a nailed on goal. So that was the England under-21 session. Just to finish on that session to talk about the key things for them within that session, although it's a two-way practice defending low block, if you look back to the how we play, we've managed to work on the support positions. We've managed to work on defending the space, the area, and the goal all in one 5v5 area. Yeah. And the repetition you speak about, absolutely. But the repetition of all those things is in there. The goalkeeper has to recognise how to be the most effective as possible.
Yeah.
So moving on from that, we're going to do another task here. So one of the tasks we're going to do is we're going to put ourselves in the shoes of Arsenal in the FA Cup final. So we've got through to the FA Cup final. We're going to do some opposition analysis on the attacking threats of Chelsea. So we're going to watch some clips of Chelsea versus Manchester United in the semi-final. And what I want you to be doing is I want you to be thinking about what considerations do you have for your goalkeeper when designing sessions, and also how will you include the goalkeeper coach within this. So a few minutes, it's going to be about 3 minutes of a video. We're going to play it. You're going to have the opportunity to have a look yourself without any voiceovers, and then we're going to go through it together again at the end. But I want you to really consider, if you are the head coach now and you're designing sessions from this attacking threats, what have you got considered for your goalkeeper? How are you going to include your goalkeeping coach to best get out of your sessions? So next thing, we're going to go into the video, then have a look. And this is by yourselves now. So have a little look, get a notepad, write anything down that you may see. Good. So we've had a little look now through the video. We're going to look at the second video in a second. If you're watching this on YouTube, you may want to rewind and give yourself a second opportunity to have a look at the attacking threats. The next video that we're going to play now is we're now going to be looking at what we should have picked out about the considerations and the attacking threats from looking at Chelsea point of view. So the first thing we're going to look at is when to switch from defending the space to defending the goal. And there's going to be some annotations on here. I'm going to provide some explanations to what we see. First thing to note here is when Reece James is driving through with the ball from this position here, you can see Manchester United's back line there is a high position. So what you can't see is a high line. What you can't see is the position of David De Gea at this moment in time. But what you'd want him to do there with the runners of the three people ahead of Reece James, right now you want him to be on the front foot looking to defend the space. You want to be outside the 6-yard box looking for that in case any ball gets played through to these on runners. But now the scenario is going to change. There's no direct pressure on the ball. There's now a threat of a shot from distance. So now what you can just see David De Gea in the shot there. You have to switch now and transition from defending the space position to drop and defend the goal, which we'll see here. Makes a good save. We'll see the same thing happen now in the next clip. You can see this is now actually a transitional moment. Ball's given away in the centre. Now we're looking at Mason Mount driving forward. Again, there's no pressure on the ball for him, no direct pressure. It's a shot on goal, threat of a shot from distance. Now, the key thing for me is you should be looking to drop off to around about 3 yards outside your goal. So when you've been defending the space, you may have been 6-7 yards up the pitch from that scenario. Now we're looking to drop 3 yards to defend the goal. And we'll be able to see as we go through now, David De Gea there makes a little bit of a fumble. You can see his shape's going backwards. He has it. My question would be, can't see it from this angle. My question to David De Gea would be, did he drop off quick enough? Did he give himself the best possible chance and recognise the trigger that there's going to be a shot on goal because there's no pressure? My sort of outlook at that would be probably didn't, and that's why he's ended up making a little bit of a fumble there. You can see his shape going backwards, and that's poor goalkeeping and should be nullified.
Yeah, if I can jump in there, Sam, a second. You know, you mentioned there about in relation to where that ball was, that you wanted him roughly around 3 yards.
Yeah.
You know, what is that? Just a ballpark figure, or what's the relevance of that? Instead of, you know, because obviously sometimes it might be taken too literally.
Yeah, I think there's going to be differences within in terms of preference of goalkeeper and preference of the goalkeeping coach. Now, from my point of view, 3 yards max when you're defending the goal scenario, it gives you an opportunity to one, see the ball come through bodies. If there's bodies in the way, may take some slight deflections. It gives you more reaction time. If you're on the 6-yard box, it's quite evident you've got 3 yards less reaction time to deal with a ball that may be deflected or may have a certain movement within the air.
Right.
Also, if you do see goalkeepers still be 6 yards, now a ball can actually beat them over the top of their head, and it doesn't necessarily go right in the top corner. Mick, it could sort of be mid-height in the goal by the time it passes the line. So if you think when he's 6 yards out, yes, it's over his head and it's unreachable. An extra 3 yards back actually might mean that you can get a touch on it, a fingertip on it, and it gives you the best possible option to be the most effective when defending the goal.
Okay, cheers, Sam.
So now we're going to look at defend the area and goal effectively, and this is where the organisation of your back line is going to come into this. So looking at Chelsea now getting into these little wide areas. Ball played back straight away. We need to get closer to stop the cross. So it's midfielder in this scenario, but if it's the fullback, whoever's the close there, need to work harder to stop that cross coming in. This is a common theme of what Chelsea are trying to do. You can also see there, Olivier Giroud highlighted. He's running to the near post space. That space there highlighted is the key area they want to get to. What I'm going to speak to you about now is just the positioning of these two. So if we adjust the position of the goalkeeper and the centre half there, Lindelof, we can now see they're in a better position to try and defend that near post space cross. Lindelof is in more relation to his other two players. He's going to defend that near post space. We could actually talk about Mick there from a point of view his body shape. He should be more open so we can see the run come onto him. And that again is the information his goalkeeper can give him, can tell him to open up, can get him to defend that near post space. And just by David De Gea there threatening that area by another yard, he's more or less telling Azpilicueta there, if he's going to put the ball in behind the defence, he's going to be able to deal with that. As you can see, when the positions go back, he's very deep, inviting that ball into that area. We can see again the high line. Look how deep David De Gea is here. Look, very deep. He's never going to be able to threaten or come for any crosses. This one's not annotated, but it's just to give you the idea of again, the very simple attacking threat that Chelsea are looking for, that near post space area. Again, looking for them areas. That's where their biggest threat is. Now, here's the goal. First goal. Now, in this position here, the only area that this ball is going to go here, Mick, is near post space. The reason it's going to go in that near post space, Olivier Giroud is the only Chelsea player inside the 18-yard box. So by looking at that scenario here, straight away, if I pause it now when Azpilicueta is just about to put the ball in the area, yes, Olivier Giroud has managed to get ahead of Harry Maguire there. So not Harry Maguire, Lindelof. Look at David De Gea's position here. It's not a bad position. He's sort of a couple of yards off his line, ready to threaten any ball into that area and maybe affect it. But watch what happens. Again, just highlighting the run to that near post space, just where that ball's going to be delivered. Watch what happens. Look how deep he gets now. He's really dropped onto his line. It's not great goalkeeping anyway. He's falling backwards, and it's something that could have been affected slightly better, just by a little addition of a slight change of positioning. Right, in this scenario here, you're looking for, you want to try and keep your back three out of the 6-yard box as much as possible, but this is going to happen. They're going to drop into the 6-yard box at times to try and defend that threat of that cutback and that ball being played across. But the most important thing now I'm going to highlight is here. So we're looking at this cutback space. Yeah, so you can see Olivier Giroud comes out the shot from nowhere, managed to get across the front of Nemanja Matic. Could have been a goal. Could have been a goal. That needs to be protected by then the midfielders, and that information needs to be put across. Then last part of the video. Third goal for Chelsea. Looking to work it wide, work into the wide area. One attacker getting across the front, into that near post space. There's the finish again.
I think there, Sam, it's interesting in them last 3 clips there of, when we're coaches, either outfield or goalkeeper coaches, is what's the actions before when the players, are away from the ball. You've alluded that they got a run on Lindelof I think in the first example.
Yeah.
Even the second one. So, when we're coaching or we're observing action, are we looking at this before action movements, the defending the space, defending the goal, what's the starting positions of the defenders as well? Or we're just watching it in the moment when the ball's at the back of the net or that initial contact. So I think those 3 were clearly highlighted there.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's a great point, Mick. So from the task that we've just watched there, and we've gone through it and broke it down, we're now going to look at this and go, how does this practically look for us now if we were going to design sessions? First thing I asked was the considerations around what you want from your goalkeeper. So we're going to look at the actions which you just spoke about there, Mick, of what we're looking at. So goalkeeper's actions in this scenario, when there's pressure on the ball, we want to be in a position ready to defend the space effectively. So you can see there that there's not going to be a direct shot. There's a high line. If we're going to play that way, the goalkeeper needs to be in relation to that back line, ready for any ball that's played into that space. On the flip side of that, if there's no pressure on the ball, we need to be in a position ready to defend the goal effectively. So there's the transition between the two and recognising that early enough. Moving on to more actions about the wide areas. So mid to low cross and cutbacks, position ready to defend the area effectively, and organisation, clear instructions to the defensive unit. I've highlighted these 3 players here. So in this clip, you can see we're looking at a left back going out to stop the cross. Then we're looking at centre halves in the near post space and middle space, and the opposite full back covering that far post space. That relationship between the goalkeeper and those 3 is going to be vital and crucial to defending this effectively. So if we're going to put this into now into our worlds, and we're going to put it onto the training pitch. So we're going to look at three different examples. The first example I'm going to show you is a phase of play. So transition on turnovers in the middle third. So the organisation of this practice is a half pitch phase of play. It's a 6v6. The red team is the team we're going to be working with. They're looking to retain possession and try and score into the 3 mini goals when possible. It's quite self-explanatory. Blues win possession, go and score. Or when the Reds score into a mini goal, a coach will fire a ball into the Blues for a transition. Straight away, off you go, try and attack, and we're looking at that. So, rules and constraints. If the Reds are starting to score too easily, they have to get 5 passes in before they can go and score into the mini goals. So if the game is just going too easy, we're going to put that restriction in. Same thing with the Blues. If we're not getting enough balls played in behind, if we're not getting enough shots from distance and not exploiting it quick enough, we're going to give them a time limit of 4 seconds. The minute they get the ball, they have to get a shot off, or they have to play a through ball if they're not taking their opportunities quick enough. Then we're looking at the out of possession objectives. So for the Reds, we'll look at the minute the ball's turned over, we may be wide and expansive. So we're looking at deny, narrowing and compacts from a back 4 unit in the midfield 2. We're looking at delay, pressure on the ball, not diving in early. And then we're looking to dictate force play in a direction where we think we can win possession. In possession objectives for the Reds, retain possession effectively, working your opportunity to play into the mini goals. Now, the next 2 things are going to be the most important things that we're looking at, and in terms of the goalkeeper's role and looking at how we're going to use the goalkeeping coach. First thing we're going to talk about is the goalkeeper's role with the Reds in possession is being able to support and build effectively. Now, out of possession, which is the main thing we're looking at, the support position to defend the space when there's pressure on the ball, which we spoke about in the previous slide. And then to readjust, recognise when to readjust to defend the goal when there becomes an opportunity where there's no pressure on the ball, looking at that 3-yard sort of position that we spoke about before, Mick.
Yeah.
Staff roles, the goalkeeping coach. Now, this is how we can utilise the goalkeeping coach for the benefit of the players and how much detail we can now get into our players. So the goalkeeping coach is going to manage the goalkeeper's position in line with the scenario that he's faced, the situation he's faced, pressure or no pressure. However, we're going to put more stress on the goalkeeping coach to manage that back 4 on a turnover. So he's going to now be really focusing in, yes, on the goalkeeper's position, but he now needs to be looking at and giving detail across to the back 4 about that deny, narrowing on compact. That's what we need to be looking at, and we can concentrate with our goalkeeping coach. If our goalkeeper coach is doing that, our assistant coach can actually, yes, he can manage the red team accordingly, but he can focus really and give loads of detail now on the midfield too about denying and delaying. So we've seen from the previous clips with Chelsea, when they pick it up, they've got a lot of space to drive into to sort of commit the back 4. So now your assistant coach can really get into the finer details of coaching these midfield too, knowing that his goalkeeping coach is going to be sorting out the back 4 for him, and that relationship is going to be built between the goalkeeper and the back 4. So then we're going to look at a small-sided game, and we've called this the offset game. So from an organisation of practice, we're looking at width of 18 yard by an 85-yard area, 2 end zones at different sizes. You can see the yellow markers there are giving 2 different sizes of an end zone. So 2 teams, 6v6, both going to be in the same formation of 3-2-1. And we're going to play 4 5-minute games, but switching ends each time. So each team will get 2 opportunities to play with a bigger end zone and a smaller end zone. Looking at the rules and constraints, it's a normal game inside this middle area. However, to score, both teams must either play the ball directly into the end zone or dribble through into the end zone. So that's the only way they can score. They cannot obviously get the ball out the feet and shoot from that middle area. The only way you can get it is by either directing or dribbling into the end zone. The out of possession objectives, if you are in end zone 1, which you can see at the top of the screen, you can actually play a high defensive line. That yellow line can sort of act as your offside line, if you like. So the principles of play of deny, delay, dictate will be evident, but will be slightly different, as you can see, into end zone 2, where your sort of yellow line is deeper, where you may get into a low defensive block. The same principles apply, but some of the scenarios are going to be slightly different. In possession objectives for both teams, sustain possession to work your opportunity, look to penetrate in behind by solo dribble or a precise through ball for runners in behind. Again, the next 2 things we're speaking about was how there's the goalkeeper's role in this and the staff roles. So the goalkeeper's role, in possession again, we support and build effectively. Out of possession, the support positions in relation to the defence and ball, and be in the position to defend the space and the goal effectively. So straight away within here, Mick, you spoke about the support positions right at the start of the webinar. You can see how the support positions are going to be vastly different for the goalkeeper in zone number 2 to the goalkeeper in zone number 1. So any through ball that's played through to number 2 is going to have to be a really precise short through ball, and he can manage that space between him and his back line that way. Whereas at the top of the pitch, it's going to be higher. So we spoke about, coaches would really like a Manuel Neuer in their team every week. Well, this is a perfect opportunity to try and, coach your goalkeeper. If you're going to be a high defensive line, this is a perfect opportunity to have this small sided game that's going to encourage him to be in relation to his back unit there.
Yeah, I mean, I particularly like this type of practice, Sam. Again, some of my roles as I go around the academies is I see lots of areas that have symmetry to them. So as coaches, and I'll include myself in that, for some reason we like these areas to, this symmetry, like both areas to be the same. Which is nothing wrong with it, but I don't think we then question ourselves why. And I think you're talking about constraints of a practice. There's really the sort of team, the red team attacking the larger space there. Well, the only space available is over the top. So it's almost an invitation and affordance to act on that. And if we're talking about sort of, as I go around the clubs, IDPs, ILPs, so like individual development plans for players or individual learning plans, as you've mentioned there, if one of your goalkeepers, say that the goalkeeper in zone 1 has a learning plan around it, he doesn't recognise triggers and cues effectively, he doesn't know his position in relation to defending the space, he gets more repetition of the goalkeeper in zone 2, who is working on a tighter space. It might be communication. And I like the reference to the sort of yellow dots there, the offside, but you could equally just use the halfway line, depending on the age of your players.
Yeah.
Where they're actually position specific. You've got centre backs not recognising triggers there in one, the ball being played over the top. So I think it's a win-win for sort of bullseye in your goalkeepers and outfield players of certain repetition around their individual learning plans.
Yeah,
so I particularly like that practice, mate.
Yeah, absolutely. We are talking about the role of the goalkeeper within that. You've got multiple returns because Mick, you may have a centre forward who just doesn't recognise when to run in behind. So you're hitting 2 birds with 1 stone here. You've got your goalkeeper at the top end who's working on his support position, and you've got your centre forward working on running in behind. And you may have a midfielder, for example, who weight of pass. That needs some sort of work. That might be his ILP. But he's going to have a different weight of pass in the top zone to the bottom zone. So you've got multiple returns in there, but we are focusing on the goalkeeper. Are we thinking about what he's getting out of this practice as well? Is key. Sure. So the staff roles within that, again, we're looking at the goalkeeping coach and we're saying the goalkeeper coach, yes, he's going to manage the goalkeepers with his position, but his instruction now to a back 3. So what does he want out of his back 3? So in this scenario here, Mick, you can see on the pitch with the Reds that the back 3 of the Reds, he's more or less gone a little bit higher on the right-hand side. The goalkeeper may now be making sure that the 2 that are left, that he's getting in narrow and they're in contact with that one striker in case there's a turnover. There's a key coaching point, and that's the relationship he's going to build now with his players. The assistant coach can manage the red team and the head coach can manage the blue team. What I would say for the goalkeeper coach would be stick to one goalkeeper for the first 2 games, switch to the other goalkeeper in the second 2 games. We said right at the top, it's 4 5 minutes games and they're going to switch ends each time. So you're going to get to coach the goalkeeper and a back 3 with a big zone and a small zone, and then you flip to the other team and you get exactly the same. Yeah,
well, I think that as you mentioned there, Sam, that sort of dual coaching role, the benefits and the input the goalkeepers I would expect to contribute to the session is a key big thing. And I think one of the considerations again when I go around is what's the dosage or the percentage of work that's done with the actual sort of technical work as I perceive it is the standing and catching and so on compared to game understanding. What is that dosage? And for me, the value a goalkeeping coach can provide in this session is a real key thing, whether you want to protect the goal out of possession or you even want to build. I think it's some key input that he can help with in understanding game moments.
Yeah, no, 100%. So that was a small-sided game, offset game, which has multiple returns. So now we're going to look at more of a unit practice. So we're going to look at defending crosses. So the organisation of this practice, you're in the defensive third. You're going to be working with a back four and a midfield two. And then you're going to be working against like a front three and a midfield two, if you like, with a coach at the end there. So the coach will deliver the ball into the Blues or directly wide until that phase comes to a complete finish. So the rules, if the Blues are not getting enough rules and constraints, if the Blues are not getting enough crosses in the box, we're going to make the fullback either passive at the start so that cross can come in and we can really work on defending it, or we'll adjust the start position of that fullback. So we may just narrow them in, or we may actually get them to be a little bit higher. So it means they have to recover into a position rather than being completely passive. We're going to manage that and see how it goes within the session. The Blues have direct competition with the Reds. And in this scenario, working in line with the attacking threats that we've seen, you're going to score 2 goals if you manage to score a goal in that near post area. So if you manage to get that ball across that near post and score, you get 2 goals and you're in direct competition with it. So there's a carrot there for the Blues as well. Out possession objectives. So just to give you a left side example with that ball going out to the left, we're going to be looking at right back, stop the cross, show him down the line, try and stop the cross, try and nullify it at source and stop that ball coming in. Right sided centre half, he's going to protect the near post space. Left side centre half, he's going to protect the middle space. The left back will protect the far post space. The goalkeeper is going to defend that 6-yard box. Remember the David De Gea clips. We're going to be looking at positions, threatening positions, making sure that any ball gets whipped into the 6-yard box. It's the goalkeeper's responsibility. And then we're looking at the centre midfielders are going to fill that second 6-yard box area, which is where most cutbacks are played to. In possession objectives, Reds, if you're the goalkeeper and you claim it, then still have some target goals in there. So you've got an opportunity to get some counter-attacks in. And if you've got clean possession from the Reds, again, hit the target goals whenever you can, play your way out of trouble. Goalkeeper's role within this, in possession, counter-attacks into the target goals, looking for that. The out-possession stuff we're looking for. The positioning to defend the area effectively. So in a cutback scenario, if we link back to the under-21 footage, the goalkeeper was in a really good position right where his near post was. And that ball got played across the 6-yard box and he managed to cut it out where a striker would just tap that in. Effective position there. Think back to the David De Gea clips, making sure you can be a yard higher. Any ball delivered in there, you give yourself the best opportunity to defend it effectively. And then, again, the organisation of that back three and the fullback. Quite simple. That ball goes wide, fullback, get out there, stop the cross, show him down the line. Now you switch your focus and your attention to organising that back three effectively in line with your position. Staff roles. Goalkeeper coach is going to manage the goalkeeper and the back four unit. He has direct responsibility, again, linking in with that relationship between the goalkeeper and the back four. He's looking at that. The assistant coach will manage the 2 midfielders filling the second 6-yard box and also manage the Blues within the practice. Again, the benefits of this is think of how much detail you can go into with your goalkeeper coach, with the back four, with his goalkeeper, and then the detail you can go into as assistant coach, head coach, whoever you are, going into the midfield players, linking back again to the clip where Nemanja Matic didn't fill that space and Giroud got in there ahead of him. That detail now you can get into your centre midfield players to make sure you're in the best possible position to defend that effectively. So there's 3 different practices we're looking at and how you would utilise your goalkeeping coach to maximise the detail to your players and maximise your practices as well. So what does all this mean for us now after all this detail? So what we're going to be looking at is what do we need to consider? You touched on it a little bit before, Mick. As a coach, we need to consider what we want our goalkeepers to do before transition happens, what we want them to do during, and what we want to do after as well. So before, what support position best enables the goalkeeper to manage transitions? Just below that, I've put managing transitions is through your positioning, your instruction, and your effective actions. Going back to that proactive manager out of possession in the characteristics in the England DNA. During, what decisive actions are effective to the situation? So what actions do we want to do by defending the space, by defending the area, and defending the goalkeeper in line with the situation that he's faced with? And then after, what actions and support do they need after the event? We've seen a couple. One you might think of straight away is when he's got the ball, it might be a counter-attack. Also, think about when we watched the under-21 video, when the goalkeeper made a really good save, but was up very quickly and repositioned himself just in case there was going to be another shot. So they're the kind of actions and support they need after certain events, and having a real thought process on that. Lastly, we showed this at the start. What should we expect? So we've done a deep dive. So with the emoji with the binoculars there, we've done a deep dive. We've had a little look into what it looks like from an England DNA perspective, how we play our possession, characteristics of a goalkeeper, and then seeing a session going off live where all of those things come to life. We've done a couple of tasks within this, and hopefully it's been very beneficial for you, and hopefully you've got something out of it. Definitely, I think there should have been some thought-provoking questions from you there, and that, you know, we should have more answers than questions, really. But hopefully it's been very insightful for us. And that light bulb moment, what has that been for you? So throughout this webinar, start to have a little think about what was the key thing that stood out for me, and how am I going to apply this back to not just my goalkeepers, but also using my goalkeeper coach and utilizing him to the maximum benefit. So unless there's any more questions from you, Mick, that's it from me.
No, thanks, Sam. And again, I think for my own reflections on viewing that, you know, something that's sort of, you know, worth exploring to me is that dual coaching. You know, how can we be more effective around it? Looking at that transitional elements of the before and even the after moments. You know, how often do we sort of look at those positional, you know, those positions beforehand, and then how can we maximise, you know, effective use and manipulation of the areas and so on, so we get more repetition, you know, around sort of match day, you know, problems, you know, solving those match day problems. But no, many thanks, Sam. You know, I've enjoyed the workshop.
No, my pleasure. My pleasure.